Hi everyone, I hope you are doing well. This is Abbas here. I'm going to teach you the reading book, Active Reading. I'm going to start with Active Reading number 2, and I'm going to teach you this book step by step, paragraph by paragraph, and also sentence by sentence, and all in English. I hope that you find this video very useful. I think that most of my audience will be B1 and B2 students. So if you are A1 or even A2, probably you will not understand most of the things that we are going to discuss in this video. And on the other hand, if you are C1 students, probably you will know everything or most of the things that I'm going to teach you. I prefer to speak a little slowly than usual so that most of you understand what I'm going to tell you. Okay, if you pay attention to the title of this chapter, you will see this: for better grades, use your brain. It seems like this chapter is going to talk about school, learning, and grades. You know that grade means the marks that you are given in school by your teachers. There are some people who get better grades than others. And in this video, we are going to discuss why they are getting better grades. Okay, I'm going to teach you through these slides and I'm going to discuss them sentence by sentence. But if you want to learn more, I suggest you this way. First, take a look at the slides that I show on the screen right next to my face and pause the video for some seconds, okay? Try to read the text on your own. If there is something that you don't know, use your dictionary and look up the new words and then try to understand. After that, when I'm explaining all these step by step to you, you can see if you were right or not. And this is the best way that you can learn from this book. Okay, let's start. I hope that most of you have paused the video and I have read this text. Let's start. In the first sentence, it is giving us a kind of background about the resolution and the resolution that we have for our studies. You know that every year when people are expecting the new year, they will have some plans in their minds. We call those plans and wishes resolution. And you know, when even, for example, an academic year starts, okay, some students have these plans or goals in their minds, and we call them study resolution. For example, I say that, okay, by the start of this academic year, I will study more. I will review all my lessons and I will not pile them up for the last day and, you know, before the exam. حالا okay, now if you pay attention here, it is saying that like most of the students, you probably started this new year, academic year, with a resolution, with some goals to study even harder than the previous years. I guess all of us have this experience and we have all started like this. Now, science is here to help us keep this resolution and maybe reach our goals. Instead of keep your resolution, you can say reach your goals. There are some recent discoveries in the brain research which is trying to point out some ways for making this true. I mean, reaching the goals, or better to say, reaching the resolutions that you have set for yourself. Okay? In this text, we are going to learn how does the brain work and how it saves our information. For example, it is saying that suppose that the last piece of information, be careful, you say piece of information, okay? Because this is uncountable. The last piece of information that somebody told you, do you remember that or no? You have totally forgotten it. If you don't remember that, and if probably you have forgotten the piece of information, that is because it is saved in your short-term memory. You know, we have different types of memory, and in this chapter, we are going to discuss some of them. Let's go for the next slide. So far, so good. In the next slide, it is talking about different types of memories. For example, the first one is called sensory memory. Sensory memory comes from your five senses. Probably you know five senses. One of them is touch, when you touch something. One of them is smell, when you smell something. One of them is your hearing, when you listen to something or hear something. One of them is your sight, when you see something. And one of them is your taste, when you eat something and taste something. This is called sensory memory. This sensory memory is really short, and also it is really fast. As soon as you touch something and it is hot, some senses come to your hand and immediately go to your mind, and it alerts your mind, it tells your mind that this object was hot and probably you shouldn't touch it again. It is only for a few seconds, okay? The second one is short-term memory. In some other books, it is also called a working memory. Why? Because it says that it is like a table that when you want to work on something, you open your files, your books, your notebooks on it, you work on them, probably you take some notes or something, you put them back to their folder. This table that you are working on, which is not forever, it is only, better to say, temporary, for a very short time, temporary. It is temporary, and because of that, they call it working memory, or just very simple, short-term memory. This short-term memory holds the information for a very short time, and it is very useful for remembering things immediately or storing information in your mind for a limited time. For example, if you want to call someone, you will look at the number, take your phone, for example, 1234, and you say 1234. Okay, this is in your short-term memory. But probably 10 minutes later, you don't remember these numbers because they are not saved anywhere. They are just in your short-term memory. The next part is about long-term memory. If you memorize that cell phone number or phone number, you probably transfer the number to your long-term memory. Okay, so in that type of memory, you remember everything. For example, the name of your cousins, because you never actually forget them. The name of the cities that you have lived in. For example, all the irregular verbs that you know in English, all of them are there. You know, it's a really complicated process that how we can transfer information from short-term memory to long-term memory. But this text is not talking about that in details, but it will give us some suggestions later. When you are studying something new, You are transferring the information from your working memory, which was like a working table, to your long-term memory. Okay? Every time that you learn something, you can actually claim, you can actually say that you have learned that. You have uh, you have transferred that piece of information to your long-term memory. It's interesting to know our brain is really flexible. Is if you pay attention here, it is saying that every time that we learn something, the structure of our brain actually changes. That is really fascinating. You know, when you learn something new, it seems like you are changing your brain, actually changing, because there are some neurons and other stuff in your brain that you are changing them. And your brain is really flexible. The more you learn new things, the more you will change your brain structure and the more you will improve your brain. That is really good. Also, it is saying that when you learn some new things, you are making new connections. You know, suppose that this is your brain and these are all pieces of information. Okay. As soon as you learn something new, you will be able to connect them with each other through some wires, I don't know, through some neurons. And when they are connected to each other, they will become more powerful. And in this way, you can even sharpen your brain. We say sharpen, okay? Sharpen. Sharpen your brain, improve your learning process, and so on and so forth. It's very interesting. When there are more of these connections, okay, you can even find other information easier. It is something like a person who is a really good athlete and their body is ready to do new stuff. A person who doesn't do any sports or they don't work out, their body is not ready for the new workout or for the new movements. This is exactly the case. Be careful. This is exactly the case. It means that they have this similar situation. This is exactly the case with your brain. The more new connections, the more powerful your brain. Let's go further. Research in this text is mentioning four different key points. Why? To make our study more effective. So we make something more effective. The very first one is making an effort. Make an effort means try, especially try very hard to do something, or in this case, in this context, learn something. It is saying that the brain remembers much better when we are interested in the subject. For example, if somebody is interested in math, they will learn mathematical problems much better. I am interested in languages, so I think that I can learn languages much better than a person who doesn't know, or for example, doesn't like languages. It is saying that if, even if you have a little information, for example, you love math and you have a little information in your mind about math, the new problems, the new issues, or the new, I don't know, the new things in math will be in your mind longer than my mind because I don't like math. I have no background. For example, a person who is in love with cars, they can even learn more. Let me tell you something interesting. I'm sure that you have probably heard about this proverb. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Exactly the same. A person who has something in their mind, for example, a kind of background about a specific subject, they can learn it even much better and much faster. Fascinating. And they can use this information in the future much easier. So try to make an effort to have a background about different things in your mind. Let's go for number 2. It says, find the most important information and organize it. So probably if you want to learn something new, it is better to find out which part of that thing is more important than other parts. If you find the most important part and you put it in your mind, you learn it, you will have an easier job to learn even the other details. So first, you should have the main information, okay? Because this is very important. It is saying that your brain can process only a limited amount of information at one time. For example, here I can teach you about this, okay, about this text, not about all the texts in this book, because our mind has a very limited, how can I put it? Has a very limited capacity, okay? Maybe, for example, you have you have a small glass and you want to pour water in it, okay? How much water? You can just have about this much water. This is our brain, okay? Our attention is very limited. Our brain capacity, we call it capacity, okay? Brain capacity. It is very limited. So now I can only teach you this, nothing more. You should give your mind a little rest. You should go to sleep very well. Learn this information that I'm teaching you now. And then tomorrow you watch another video and learn something new. It's interesting. When you are studying a textbook, you should look for titles because normally titles are very important. And after that, headings, because they show you the most important information. And also illustrations, the pictures, because pictures can give you a good background. Do you remember in the last slide I told you you should have a background in your mind for learning better? These illustrations or these photos can give you that background. And also, all in all, they can show you where the main ideas are. And you can save your time by only learning important things, not useless details for now, just important things. And then in the next step, maybe you can add a little more detail to that. Why? Because our mind is limited, it has limited information in it, and every time you should add limited amount of, I don't know, information or new things in it. Let's go for the third one. Make the new brain connections stronger. Do you remember I told you in our brains we have different connections? If you learn more things and if you have a better background for the new things, you will have a better connection between the stuff. For example, there is one technique which is reciting the ideas out loud. Reciting means memorizing. If you memorize the ideas out loud, louder than usual for yourself, it will help you to keep them in your mind with your own words. You know, this is exactly something that I'm doing. I have read this text, I have understood that, and I'm trying to saying it or sometimes memorizing it in my own words. I'm explaining that. You as a student can do such a thing. It is very helpful for both your learning English as well as your speaking. It is saying that this is the most powerful way to transfer information from short-term to long-term memory. So if you want, this is one way. If you want to transfer something from your working memory, your short-term, you should say that, repeat that for yourself aloud, not in your mind. It is really helpful, believe me. Another method of transferring information from your short-term memory to long-term memory is drawing a picture. Sometimes some people call it a mind map. For example, there is one, how can I put it? There is one important thing like a title, and it has different details or branches. And in this way, you can draw a picture in order to understand that subject much better. Number 4, and the last one, give the new material time to soak in your brain. You know, soak in your brain, it seems like you put it in water to soak. You know, some people just soak their clothes, okay? They put them in water before washing it because they believe that in this way they can make the clothes even cleaner. This is exactly the case, you see, this is exactly the case. It is very similar to new information in your brain. You should take one piece of information, put it in your brain, okay? Try to transfer it from short-term memory to long-term memory and give it time to rest. Give it time to soak in. Why? Because in this way, it will find its way and its place in your brain, and it will stay in its own place. And you can't believe that sleeping, it is not here, I'm just telling you from my own information. Sleeping really helps you to soak in information, to store information in your brain. In this way, even you can build new connections between different things in your brain. For this reason, it's better to study for several short sessions. For example, if you want to study for 5 hours in one day, it is better to study for 1 hour, take some rest for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then study for another hour. You should never ever study for long hours, for a long time. For example, 3 hours back to back. No, it is not suggested. It is not a helpful way. There is another point. If you see, we have a word, cramming. Some people love cramming. They just don't study during the term or semester. They study the exact night before the exam. For example, they have 100 pages of a book and they want to study and learn that exactly before the exam, maybe 10 hours or 12 hours back to back with no rest. This is called cramming, and it sometimes happens among university students because during the term they don't like to study very well and they pile up all the lessons for the night exactly before the exam. We call this cramming. It is saying that cramming doesn't help you learn. Maybe some people can do this cramming and they can pass the exam, but it is not helpful for your learning. If you are looking for learning something, actually learning something, cramming doesn't help, unfortunately. That was all for this session. It is saying that by understanding how the brain works and following all these 4 tips, you can make this year, this academic year, maybe the most successful academic year you have ever had. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here with me. This was my first video. If you liked the video, please subscribe for more. And even if you had any comments, I would be more than glad to see your comments below this video. Thank you so much for being here with me and have a perfect time. Thank you.